Welcome to Scars of Service, where the hidden wounds of duty take center stage. I'm Damon Clark, a combat infantry veteran. I'm joined by Danny Martin, Emergency Medical Services, and Michael Ducote, Law Enforcement and Corrections. Together, we're peeling back the layers of trauma from the front lines, whether it's the battlefield, the ambulance, or the streets. These are the stories of what we've lived through, the moments that don't end when the shift does, and how they reshape life off duty. Raw, real, unfiltered, we're here to share the scars you can't see and the strength it takes to bear them. Let's work through it.
All right, welcome back to the SOS podcast, Scars of Service. Today we have Mr. Andy Dixon, one of the founders of Save Cenla. I think he has a absolutely tremendous story that goes along with our podcast. How you doing today, Mr. Andy?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank y'all very much for having me.
No problem at all. All right, so if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what led you to get into Save Cenla.
So my name's Andy Dixon. My wife and I have been married 35 years. We had 5 kids. And in 2014, our second child, name's Adam, he died by suicide in 2014. He was 17 years old. As you can imagine, it destroyed me. It destroyed me. And it took us about 2 years to kind of catch our breath. And then we decided to get in a fight against suicide. We helped another couple chair a mental health awareness suicide prevention walk. Then after that walk, we formed Save Cenla. It's our own nonprofit, the 4 of us, to try to do things local. You know, it's work in your home. So we do mental health awareness suicide prevention. And what we do is we found this workshop called A.S.I.S.T, Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. What it does, it teaches you how to recognize the signs that somebody's having thoughts of suicide kind of send out. You know, when Adam died, for those first 2 years, I would say over and over again, there wasn't any signs. He didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. This was out of the blue. I kept saying that over and over until I found myself in that A.S.I.S.T workshop. And, I was sitting there and those instructors were saying, people with thoughts of suicide will say things like this. And I was thinking to myself, Adam said all that stuff. He said exactly those things. And then they started talking about people with thoughts of suicide will do things like this. And I'm saying, Adam did all those. And that's when I realized Adam had been, for at least 6 months, that boy had been trying to tell me something was not right. But Daddy never listened. I just would jump in. He'd start telling me a little bit about a problem, and I would jump in and start fixing it for him. So that A.S.I.S.T workshop teaches you what you're looking for. And then it teaches you how to ask them the question when you're thinking about suicide, how to ask them the proper way. And then it teaches you what to do once they tell you yes. From start to finish, it teaches you everything you need to know to help them stay safe from that thoughts of suicide.
I was fortunate enough at the beginning of the year to take the A.S.I.S.T class here in Evolves Marriage. It was, at first, you're told, and I know y'all say you have to take both days. My first thought was, this would be a great class to take, but what on God's green earth could take 2 days to explain to me? It took every bit of that 2 days, and we probably could have done a third.
Yes.
And it was one of the most interesting classes. I recommend everyone to take it because you never know who you're going to encounter on a day-to-day basis that needs it. And like you said, on a, everyday life, you don't realize, I do now, taking the A.S.I.S.T class, I find, what cries people come with. What, like you said about Adam, just reaching out, saying things, and had no way of knowing that was a cry for help. So, Mr. Andy, if you don't mind, I know you said it after the suicide, it was a 2-year battle. If you don't mind, you mind telling us a little bit about what that battle entailed?
Absolutely. So Angie and I was on AT while I was over the road truck. And when I would come home, all our time was spent with our kids. That was my whole life. And when Adam died, I could not make myself do anything. I would just stand there. I was a zombie. I don't know how to explain it. I was there, but I wasn't. The only thing I could make myself do was climb in that truck and drive down the road. I'd be crying all day long. I'd wake up when I knew I was awake. I would be crying, and I would cry myself to sleep every night. But in my truck, I could yell, I could scream, I could cry as by myself. It was hell.
I can't imagine.
So 11 months, Adam's 1-year anniversary is coming up, and I'm driving down the road, crying my eyes out. I'm in my 18-wheeler. I'm hauling oversized loads. So normal 18-wheeler is about 80,000 pounds. I'm weighing in at 112,000 that day. I'm 12 feet wide. I'm coming down the mountain in Arizona, and a thought runs across my mind. Just let it go. Let the truck speed up, get on your brakes, heat your brakes up, and go over the edge of the mountain. Nobody's ever going to know it. They're going to think it's an accident. And I remember squeezing on that steering wheel so hard. I was like, where did that come from? Because I was one of these people. I had no idea how Adam could take his own life, or anybody could get to that point of taking their own life. I had never been there. So the next day, I was in Bakersfield, California. I was pulled up in the truck stop, backed in the parking spot. I was mentally and physically worn out. I mean, crying all day. I saw myself stand up, and I took off my clothes, and I climbed in my bunk, and I cried myself to sleep. Sometime that night, I woke up, and I sat up on the edge of my bed, and I honestly felt like I had 1,000 pounds sitting on my shoulder. All I felt was just a great weight on me, pushing me down. And I kept staring at my driver's seat. And then I actually realized I was actually staring at the seatbelt. And I thought, I could use that seatbelt training myself. And that's the moment I realized I was about to kill myself. I hadn't made that decision. I guess depression had made it for me. But I can tell you, I was okay with that decision. It was like a perfect peace had settled over me. And, people say, how can somebody do that? Because all that painting they give to their family and their friends. When that darkness took over, it pushed every thought out of my head. There was no more Angie. There was no more kids. There was nothing except I'm about to kill myself, and it's okay. Man,
Wow.
I turned my eyes, and just an arm's length away from me sat a brand new hunting knife, a skinning knife. I had never used it. It was brand new. And I thought that thing's going to be razor sharp. I can use it. And I went to grab it, but I couldn't move my arm. I was too heavy. It was too heavy. I couldn't move anything in my body. And when I tell you I tried with every ounce of energy I had in me to grab that knife, I did. I really, really did. And I'm not sure how much time went on while that was going on. But the first thought to break through the darkness was, what is Matthew going to think when he finds out you killed yourself with the knife he bought you? Matthew's my oldest son.
Yeah.
He bought me that knife 2 months after Adam died. And I just stuck it in my truck. I wasn't doing anything. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make myself do anything. I don't even know why it was in my truck, but it was. And I would love to sit here and tell you that once I started thinking about Matthew, I quit trying to grab that knife, but I would be lying to you. I still kept trying to grab that knife. With everything I had in me, I just could not move my arm. Again, I don't know how much more time went by. And then the next thoughts to come through was about my daughters, Katie and Emily and Anne-Marie. And then I started thinking about Angie, my wife. And one thing I thought was, how was Angie going to tell them what I did? How was she going to explain to them what I did? And then how was she going to provide for them? And then I don't know, the darkness lifted a little bit, and those thoughts started coming. And when I was finally able to pick up my head and look up out of my windshield, it was 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. I had been sitting there for hours. So I jumped down and I started up my truck. I put my clothes back on. I went and I delivered that building. I called Angie. I told her what happened. I got a buddy named Jay Bird. He's right here from Postville. I called him and talked to him. Since then, I've talked to 4 different priests about what happened. I've talked to 4 or 5 different pastors from other denominations. To me, talking about it really helped, and getting it out there and talking about it. So a month after that, I was in a real bad wreck up in Wyoming, and it knocked me out of truck, and I had to have a back surgery. I had 2 neck surgeries from it so far. That wreck saved my life because it brought me home
Where you needed to be.
Yeah, it brought me home, and God used that time that I was down. That is when we did that first walk, that mental health walk. we got involved in that. And then we formed Save Cenla. And then we kind of by accident, we found ourselves in an A.S.I.S.T workshop. We took that workshop. It's been on since then, you know.
Yeah. That Miss Andy, that's a great story. And the thing about it is, this is not just a story. This is real life.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely real life. Man, I can't even imagine what was going through your head at that point, you know. And that's what this podcast is all about, is how you said you were crying every day. You were trying to reach for that knife. People need to realize when you're going through something like that, it's okay to talk about it. Don't just keep it to yourself. Don't look at it as weakness.
Well, I did go to a doctor in that time, and I sat in that doctor's office, and he asked me if I was depressed. I said, Doc, I don't know if I'm depressed. I said, describe it to me. And he looked at me and he said, do you cry more than 3 times a day? And I looked that man dead in the eye and I was like, nope. And then I looked at my wife and I was like, don't you open your mouth. Because I didn't want to be labeled as that depressed person.
Right.
I was scared that if he put me on depression medicine, that might affect my CDL license, might affect my livelihood.
Right.
So I just lied because I didn't know.
That, Mr. Andrew, we talked about that in the episode with my story, you know, going through the motions, checking the boxes, making sure that you gave the right answer, because you still had to keep going, you still had to do what you had to do. Put you in a bad spot because it seemed like at the time that the mental health system has such a stigma about it.
There is. When Angie and I first started Save Cenla, 2017, we tried to get on TV stations, radio stations to talk about suicide, you know, suicide prevention. Nobody would put us on because they didn't want to talk about suicide.
Yeah.
Now, today, so 2 short years later, we can call and put us on immediately. Yeah. Things are changing. Things are changing.
And in the parish we live in, you know, there's not a lot of people here, but isn't our suicide rate pretty high?
Avoyles Parish and Evangeline Parish is always neck and neck to be one of the highest parishes in the United States. The suicide rate per capita.
Per capita in
the United States.
In the whole country.
That's right. Like, wow. And we should be filling up stadiums with family members and friends learning how to help.
Absolutely.
So for 11 months, I was driving that truck, crying my eyes out. When I would stop and go in a truck stop, my eyes would be red, swollen. I mean, I was down. I was dragging. Only one other truck driver ever asked me if I was okay. And all that time, all those shippers that I went to, all those, you know, delivering those loads, those receivers, not one person. Well, that one truck driver, one day I was fueling up and a driver came around and said, hey, man, you all right? And all that time. Now, what if one of those people would have been A.S.I.S.T trained and they could have saw that and they could have had that conversation? But that's what we teach people how to do. We train anybody from 16 years and older, no matter what your profession is. When Adam died, you know, they did some blood work to find out what was in his system. And it came back, and the only thing he had in his system was some caffeine.
Wow.
So I asked them, I said, did y'all check for that synthetic marijuana stuff? Because that was kind of big back then.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we didn't. I said, can you rerun it? And they told me it was going to be $350. I said, I don't care what it costs. I want to know for sure. And they sent it back, and it came back clean. He had nothing but caffeine. He had stopped more than 1 cup of coffee that morning. And I kept thinking, what if that store clerk would have been A.S.I.S.T trained and would have just saw something?
Yeah.
You know, right here in DuPont, we got our little store called Couillon's. I have done 4 suicide interventions in Couillon's just because of I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just walking around a soul shop.
There's no way. Okay, there's no way to explain it. You keep saying that you recognize people and intervene with them. There's no way of explaining what you mean by that until you take the A.S.I.S.T class. Before, I was like, well, you know, we could recognize depression. It's much more than that. Like I said, these 2 days, it was every bit of that 2 days needed. It's so much more to recognize than what people think.
Absolutely. So the last 4 days of Adam's life, he died on Friday morning. Those last Monday from Parakeet, that boy gave me, we call them signals. Invitation. Invitation is correct. Tuesday, Wednesday, I could see Adam was sick. There was some. Thursday, he comes home. Thursday afternoon, he comes home. And he is so happy. We sat down, I was cutting grass, he pulled up, and we talked. And while we were talking, I actually had the thought, this boy has grown up. I'm talking to a man now. But then he was happy. He was so happy, I thought, he's so happy a scooter might be fetching around. And I was just happy that he was happy. Finally, especially after the last couple of days. Yeah. Now I'm really sure what had happened. But she had been battling that. Do I live with the pain that I'm in? Or do I take him online? And I think Thursday, sometime there, he had made that decision to take it online. And he was in that peace mode like I was in that truck. Our people were okay with it. He was happy. That battle wasn't raging anymore. Everybody clicks, oh, they depressed and, sad. Sometimes just a country person. Yeah. So to boil all those invitations down, I'll boil it down for one thing. Any change in their typical behavior is a reason the sort of in the suicide. That is an invitation, not able to see any change in that typical behavior.
Yeah. And I know you, I've dealt with it a lot in work and at home. My way of kind of getting through it is making people laugh. Yeah, people think, well, he's in a good mood. That is a happy guy. But then you don't know deep down what's really going on. And yeah, can fool you. You mean?
So a year before Adam died, he went to a leadership camp up in Rustin called Rye, but on Mother Road Replay. Yeah. He's 16 years old, and you go. And while you're there, they get you to write a letter to you. And they hold that letter for a year. And then they mail it to you. For a month after he died, the letter arrives in mailbox. Oh, wow. And it's in Adam's handwriting from Adam Dixon to Adam Dixon. I open the mailbox, there it is. I'm looking at it, and I think this is a suicide note because he did not even know. Being the brave God I am, I gave that to Ainsley. I said, you owe. And she opened it up, and there was that letter from the Riley camps. In that letter, he talks about, he knows he has depression. He talks about using his pain to help other people. And he also talks about what he just said, the joy that he gets in seeing other people happy. The view always make you laugh. Yeah. And so what you just said,
you don't want to see other people suffering, knowing how you're suffering on the inside.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. That letter, those words, is where I get this free. You will be dead. But that 16-year-old boy and know that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and I remember when you started it locally, how far have y'all reached out now?
About my vision of Central Louisiana. So that's why we named it Save Cenla. And we started. Really, I was thinking of all carrots, but they quickly spread all over the Central Louisiana. And then the big man upstairs had bigger plans. So we go all over the state training.
So you started it here locally. And I remember when you guys started it, how has it grown since then? Because if I remember correctly, were you still driving at the time?
Yes, when we first started, I was driving. Angie was a stay-at-home mom at the beginning until that wreck, and then she had to go to work. My vision was Central Louisiana, Save Cenla, really of all parishes, but it spread to all the parish, Central Louisiana parishes. And then the big man upstairs had different plans. People started calling us, and they said, hey, we got grant money that'll allow you to go to Evangeline, Red River Island, and Bienville Parish. So we did that. We got with the sheriff's departments, the hospitals, and they jumped right on board. And we got to use up that money there. Southwest Louisiana area, health education, they gave us some money that allowed us to go anywhere we wanted in Louisiana.
And had y'all asked for that money? Was it?
We haven't asked any. We haven't tried to get any grants. They called us. They called y'all. They called us. So we go all over Louisiana, and we get people come to these workshops. They'll come from Florida, North Carolina, Illinois. A construction company in Colorado sent some people to us. There was a teacher out of Mississippi came, and she took the workshop, and she went back and she got with her principal. And this young lady worked very hard to find a grant to get us to go and train at their school. So I'm thinking we're going and train their behavioral specialists, their counselors. And we get there, and it's 30 of their students. They had lost a young man to suicide, and Not long later, his best friend died in a one vehicle accident, which I won't say it was suicide because they're not saying it was, but to me, it looks like it. So we went in and we trained those students. So once in Mississippi.
Wow.
We have been very blessed to start going into the schools here in Avoyles Parish. We go into every school in the parish except for one, and we teach the students 16 and up. We have trained in Evangeline Parish the students, Wynn Parish, Rapides, Ascension. So we're training the students. I absolutely love to go in there and train the students. So if anyone is listening to this and you have a child or you know of a kid or your neighbor has a kid, I want you to listen to this. At least 80% of those students that have come through this workshop are dealing with suicide in one way or another. We've had students in there that admit to us for the first time that they have attempted already. We have students in there that are trying to help their friends stay safe from thoughts of suicide. They just don't know how. So now we're training them the right way. But at least 80% of those students that have come through that workshop are dealing with suicide in one way or another. And moms and dads, if that don't scare the hell out of you, I don't know what would.
That is right.
You got to get trained.
That's right.
Because it's out there and it's looking for you kids and it's looking for you.
Yeah. You know, Mr. Andy, I know how important the A.S.I.S.T program is, especially after taking it. But nothing sank in harder than when I took it. We had a close-knit little group. And after the first day of your teaching, you and Miss Angie's teaching, I was looking at one of our students and I'm thinking, wow, okay, everything they're saying, wow, but no. Then y'all went further with your teaching. And I'm like, oh, at the very end of this A.S.I.S.T class, this person came forward and said, I've attempted suicide many, many times. I signed up for this A.S.I.S.T class just to tell myself that I've done everything I could before I committed suicide. I've done everything I could for myself. Wow. But after taking this class, wow. And to this fate, this person is alive. We do a very, very. That's when it truly, truly sank in. Like, wow. You know, not only that this class was able to save life, but their teaching made me realize, well, I got somebody that's sitting beside me that fits this profile. Something's not right. So I was very glad to know that this A.S.I.S.T class taught me to recognize that.
That's right.
You know, I am ashamed that I didn't approach it in the class. They did.
And you're seeing it cold.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be ashamed about.
So that just tells you how beneficial this A.S.I.S.T class. I can't stress enough. I can't stress enough. Take this class. Take this A.S.I.S.T class. There's so many people that are alive right now because from being A.S.I.S.T trained.
That's it. Applied suicide intervention skills training. This is trained worldwide. This is not something that I thought up.
Right.
This is trained worldwide. We were just lucky enough to happen to stumble into it. And this worked. Angie and I cannot tell you how many times we've used this. We go all over the state and use it. We do interventions. We don't charge people. We just go help.
Right.
You know, if I can keep one person from feeling like Adam did, and to stay alive. If I would have had this training before Adam died, I would have been able to see everything. All those times that boy came to me and tried to tell me, and I missed it. I cannot imagine the hurt that he must have been feeling because Daddy wasn't listening. Daddy wasn't seeing. In his mind, he was telling me, but I wasn't. I just wasn't picking up what he was putting down.
But it's one of those things, Mr. Andy. I mean, you know, you worked a lot and did the best you could as a father to take care of your family. But it just comes down to, like with myself, if I don't know, I don't know. You know, I hear so many people your age that say, back when I was young and they didn't have this, they didn't have that. A lot of good things that are available to us today, you guys just didn't have. So if you don't know, you just don't know,
Yeah, and that's why Angie and I push so hard because it's so easy. We don't even charge anybody for these workshops. The Central Louisiana Human Services District pays for all the workshop materials. And then the rest of our Save Cenla sponsors actually pay for you to be able to take this workshop. Other organizations in Louisiana charge $300 a chair in those workshops. But because of our sponsors, we don't have to charge anything. And then that's why we get people from Colorado and all over the country coming to these workshops.
That is amazing. What a gift, a blessing
Absolutely.
to have that. So yeah, to our listeners, it's free. They got plenty of food, right, Danny?
Oh, do they have food?
You got excited about that for
Well, I mean, that's always a plus.
It's not just like sitting behind a desk and just, okay, I'm listening to what they got to say. It's very interactive with each other. It's very, very, very interesting. It's group things you do. It is. I wish there was some way of letting people know how worth it this class in it is to take, and what just take it.
well, and especially with the folks that we're trying to reach, you with EMS, Damon with military, and myself with law enforcement, all those fields and other fields of public service, the people you come in contact with, that you could make a difference by having this training. I mean, who knows, how far it could go and who you could touch and whose life you could save, just the fruit of it,
Yeah, and like you said, Mr. Andy, as a dad, I didn't see. My son was crying out. He was showing me signs. I didn't see it. With Save Cenla and the A.S.I.S.T program, there is absolutely no excuse. Like you said, if I would have known. Right now, y'all provide such a wonderful program. There's no excuse for anybody to not have that knowledge and that training to recognize, to never, ever, and I'm sure you feel this way strongly, never have to go through as a parent what you went through. I'm glad you went through.
People, so Living Works is the company that developed this program. And those people know what they're talking about. Everything they change, tweak it up. But it has to be 2 days back to back, And a lot of people, that's 2 days, like I missed work, what else? Let me tell you, all the excuses in the world, you're going to miss way more than 2 days of work
To go to a funeral.
or go to sit by a grave. I've spent way more than 2 days sitting on my son's grave wondering what just happened.
Absolutely.
So there is no excuse worth it. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. If this wouldn't have happened to me, you probably wouldn't have gotten me to go to an A.S.I.S.T workshop. Because I was blind, especially the way I work, because I kind of work a lot. But now you got to. There's no excuse. And like you said, you were talking about, you just got to come.
Yeah.
I'll just use Jesus' word. Come and see.
Absolutely. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah, because, I had lost my 8-year-old daughter 2 years after Adam. I remember you and I talking not long after. I guess with this as well, I could never have imagined that would have happened to one of my children, as I'm sure you would never have imagined that y'all would have faced that with any of your family members. And I guess we get in this habit, this mindset of it happens in other places, it happens to other people, but we're fine. We're good. I don't need it. But the fact of the matter is you never know.
You never know.
Every seat you don't fill in that A.S.I.S.T program is from somebody feeling that same way. That's we don't need it. I could recognize if my kids are suicidal. Every empty seat you have in an A.S.I.S.T class is somebody thinking, I don't need it. How could it help me? And like you just said, come and see.
That's it. So not long ago, we had a fire chief sitting in the workshop, and on day one in the afternoon, a little slideshow we learned, and I pulled up a slide, and it has a bunch of the things you're looking for. It has a list. I saw that fire chief sit back in his chair, and his eyes get big so much that I stopped, and I said, "Hey man," I said, "You all right?" And he pointed at that slide, and he said, "That's my wife." Well, he went home after day one and used what he learned on his wife. His wife actually had a suicide plan. She was fixing to die of a suicide, and he had no clue before that. But because he came and sat in that class, he saw it, and he was able to get us some help. And I could tell you story after story after story, just like that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm sure glad you took the time to do this, Mr. Andy. And
I'm going to be honest with you. I would go sit in the closet and just close the door. But the man upstairs got other plans, so he gives them the strength every day to get up.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember, the first year after my little girl passed, that first year was like a fog to me. Then when that second year came around, the full reality of it hit me, and I was feeling pretty bad. And I've made a decision. I'm either going to go this way, or I'm going to go that way. Thank you for taking this route, Stander. I can't thank you enough.
And you have to have such a sense of pride on a day-to-day basis, knowing how many people are still alive today because of you in the same.
Oh no, don't put that on me. But still, don't put that on me. That's all the man upstairs. Y'all, he get all his layers is using y'all. Well, she's a good carpenter. He can use a broken hammer.
That's right.
I've never heard that one. That is spot on.
Well,
that's right.
Well, you the broken hammer he's using.
But Mr. Andy, do y'all have any information on beings that we are such a high rate with the suicide? Has any information ever come out as to what may possibly be contributing to that in our area?
Suicide is so broad. Some people got this mindset, oh, if they die by suicide, they had to be on drugs or in trouble. And that is furthest from it could be anybody. And to answer your question, no, I can't tell you why or how they get there. Have you ever had, when you were a kid, you ever had a mouse in your closet or under your bed?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What did that monster need to be strong?
Fear.
As long as you were too scared to call out for help or turn on the light and you just cowering under them blankets, that monster got stronger and stronger, right?
That's right.
But if you ever were able to reach up and turn on the light, or somebody just happened, or mom and dad or brother and sister walk in and flip the light on, what happened to the monster?
We took the power away and it was gone.
Took the power away. That's exactly how suicide is. If we can start talking about it, turn the light on, get it out in the open. I'm not saying it's going to take it all away, but it can take a lot of power away from you. So you losing your daughter, you never would have thought anything like that would happen to you. And then it hits. You lose your daughter and you're battling this and you don't want to tell anybody because I'm looking at you. I know you're a strong guy. I got to be the strong one for my wife. I got to be the strong one for my other kids. And I'm not going to say any, and I don't know your story, all of it, but I can just imagine. And you're dying inside. About a year later, you're standing in a store, and this happened to me. I'm standing in Couillons, talking with some friends, and they're laughing, and I'm laughing. I can hear myself laughing with them, but in my brain, I'm thinking, it's screaming at me. Why can't they see what I'm going through?
Oh, yeah.
And that's right before that incident that happened in Bakersfield. I was just putting on the front. So it can happen to anyone. And leaders in our community right here that we've done intervention on, you would never dream that it happened to them.
And like you said, if we don't talk about it, it just feeds it and it grows.
Gives it power.
I look at it as an actual living thing because, like you said, it feeds. One thing happens, kid makes a bad grade in school, and that feeling I'm not good enough starts eating out, and then something else happens, and then they go through a breakup. Somebody gets some pictures of them, and it goes viral, and then all these things happening, and then they go home, and one day mom or dad just starts fussing down because they didn't take out the trash, and then boom, there it is. That little thing, it's all been building up. They're getting fussed at. I didn't take out the trash. Or how unworthy am I? How stupid am I? I forgot to take out the trash. They're going to be better off without me. They're going to be better without me. And then they'll take their own life.
I've been there where, when I thought, maybe they'd just be better off without me, because I can't do for this person. I can't do for that person. I can't take care of my family in the way I'd like to be able to take care of them when I was younger. You make mistakes but I didn't understand that was just part of the process. Our kids are under a different pressure today than what we had. I see it at home. They worry about so many little things that are going on. I'm like, when did y'all start with this? Aren't y'all kind of young for that? Oh, daddy, you just don't know.
Well, when we get bullied in school, we could get on the bus and we go home and that was it for the day or, for the weekend. But now those kids can never get away from it. They got new phones. Yeah. And it follows them and they just, it's horrible.
Now remember that, yeah, they'd have people mess with us at school and we'd fight over it. A few days later, it was okay, whatever. It's in the past. And we'd actually kind of, get along again. But now they just want to humiliate and tear down it. And it's worldwide. It's all for everybody to see,
And it's not just kids. I mean, it's grown-ups. It is all that. It is. Look across the country.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd imagine with social media and mental health, I know they've done a study like with Facebook and the depression that it causes, because people are seeing a version of somebody's life that looks so picture perfect. They say there's a lot of problems coming from that.
The Easter after Adam died, the rest of the kids are at the home, and we went on a trail ride. It was the Easter trail ride that day, and we're almost back. We've been all day riding with a big group of people. We're 5 minutes from where we started. It was going to be the end. A vehicle pulls up behind us, and they're hanging out the window, and they laughing and playing the music loud, and they taking selfies. And then that night, they're on Facebook. Oh, we had the greatest time at the trail ride, and all this, and they wasn't there at all till 5 minutes before the end of it. That goes to what you're saying. The life that people portray on Facebook, and might not be what's actually going on.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's this dream they're selling.
That is the downside of Facebook. The good side is people are a little bit braver. They will go on Facebook and send out those invitations that I was just talking about. They will say things on Facebook. We have done a lot of interventions off of something that somebody says on Facebook. And then we can go and private message them and start that conversation and help them. But they will say some things. They're looking for help. But if you're not trained to look at it, to see that, and they say it, and you're tied up in your own world, your busy life, you see it, well, they're in a bad mood, and you just keep scrolling. But that's an illustration. And like I said, we've done many interventions from Facebook just like that.
Wow, I would have never even thought of that.
I was in
I'm telling you.
my truck, and I don't know if I was in Oklahoma or Texas. One night, got done. It was like midnight. Laid in my bed, couldn't go to sleep because I was still vibrating from the road, And I opened up Facebook, and I was on a group. It's some men, and first post on it was, "I'm going to kill myself." The guy's in Seattle, Washington. So I private messaged him, and he started talking to him. So what we teach in A.S.I.S.T, I started using with him. I go back to his original post because I want to go to his profile to try to get some information about him. And another guy had posted on there, "Well, I'm killing myself too." He's in Pennsylvania. So I started messaging him, and so talking to both of them. The guy in Seattle, I went on that men's group, and I said, "Hey, got a guy right here. He had told me his apartments." Said, "Is anybody?" And the guy responded right away. He said, "I'm just down the street." So he went and he got that guy to the hospital. Guy in Pennsylvania was a veteran. He was in the Navy. Well, he had just gotten out of the Navy, had no family, had nothing. Like nothing. I used what I knew about an A.S.I.S.T to help him find his reason for living. And it doesn't have to be very much. What we teach you, we call it a turning point, a life connection part. And he decided he would at least try to go to the VA and get connected to the VA. And I got a friend, Miss Linda Hyman. She was working at the VA at the time. She called up the VA in Pennsylvania, and she had somebody waiting at the door for him when he walked up. And about 2 years ago, he called me and he said, "Andy," he said, "I got a job, I got a girlfriend, I got a house." His life was totally turned around, but he would have died that night if I wouldn't have had this dream.
Yep. Hey. And like you said about the turning point, one thing that stuck with me real strong taking the A.S.I.S.T class is, like you said, don't worry about I need to save their life. Worry about that minute. Now save it for that minute, because that minute's going to turn into an hour. That hour's going to turn into a day. Don't worry about, about in a month. Worry about keeping them alive for that minute.
That's right. So we call this suicide first aid. Physical first aid, CPR, you're trying to get their heart started. Correct. Suicide first aid, we're trying to get that brain working again. Like when I was in that truck in Bakersfield, my brain had shut down. That darkness had stopped it. All I could see was, why did I kill myself? And it's okay. You got to get them thinking again.
Yep.
So suicide first aid. And you do that by asking questions. You give them a chance to respond. And you're waiting for that turning point, that life connection to come up. And like I said, it doesn't have to be very big. It could be, I want to kill myself, but man, I wish I would be here when my daughter graduates in 2 weeks.
Here's your turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you help them see that. Look, why don't we work on a way to keep you safe for right now so you can be here in 2 weeks to see your daughter graduated? Then we'll go from there. And it's like you give them, they don't have to choose living and dying. Living with pain. They don't have to choose killing themselves. You're giving them a pause button. Hey, just hit the pause button. Let's just stop, take a good look at this, and then see what happens. And like you were saying, a natural lockdown.
Right. So, Mr. Andy, do you want to give some contact information for anybody that's interested in signing up for this A.S.I.S.T program?
Save Cenla, SAVECENLA.com, SaveCenla.com. My phone number is 337-288-0973. My wife, Angie, her phone number is 337-519-1888. And we do try to answer that phone 24/7, but sometimes we don't. I'm getting a lot of spam calls here lately, but yeah, we do try to answer our phone. Shoot me a text if I don't answer it. I'll tell you I'm trying to call you. I'll call you back.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Andy, for that.
And I wanted to say this. You guys could have very understandably, y'all could have said, this horrible thing happened. It's changed us, changed me. Eventually, just going off into y'all's own world, and I know I felt it with me wanting to just cut myself off from anybody and everybody and not have to talk about it, not see anybody or anything. But you guys, by having your hearts open, God is using you guys across the country, and Lord knows how many more stories you have of interventions.
Endless.
I mean, just we love y'all for doing that, and God bless y'all in the journey that y'all are on, and we love y'all for it. Thank y'all for doing what y'all do. Whoever's listening, I know I'm signing up. Next workshop, I'm signing up. Give it a try. It's free. There's a lot of information, and it could save your own family member's life. Y'all give it a try. Will people be able to find the scheduled workshops?
Yes, on SaveCenla.com, first page, on the very top, it'll say A.S.I.S.T. Just click on it, and it'll go to our schedule, our scheduled workshop.
Okay.
And also, September the 20th in Marksville, we're having our annual Into the Light walk. It's our mental health awareness, suicide prevention walk. That's really our big fundraiser. That's really the only thing we do. Fundraising. We have guest speakers. They come in and tell their stories. It's not a doom and gloom day. It is a fun day. It's a day filled with hope.
Yeah.
And people get the courage. We've had several people get the courage at that walk to come out and say, hey, this is what's happening to me. I need help. And we have fun jump for the kids. We got people that come cook us jambalaya. It's a good fun day to learn a lot. We have a lot of vendors come out, a lot of hospitals, counselors come out and give out information, veteran groups, get that information out there. Because when Adam died, we knew something was going on with Adam. We knew it. I had no idea it was suicide.
Yeah.
But we did not tell anybody. He saw the school counselor and he didn't give them anything. So they said there's nothing wrong with it. But we did not tell. The grandparents did not even know we were having trouble with Don. When we decided to send him to the National Guard Youth Challenge Program, it wasn't because he was a bad kid. We decided to send him there because we thought, hey, they're going to have some really good counselors used to working with troubled kids. They'll be able to figure this out. Whatever's going on, they'll be able to figure it out. We didn't want anybody to know. We didn't want to be labeled.
Yep.
And that goes back to not talking about it. So he goes to the Youth Challenge Program. The first counselor he sees, about 2 weeks in, she calls us. She didn't tell us anything that they talked about, but she said, Adam and I are really connected. He's starting to open up to me. And we were like, thank you, Jesus. And then the next week, they transferred her out. And, oh, man. Another counselor came in. That counselor made Adam a junior counselor while he was there. After Adam died, about 2 weeks, a young man called us and said, Adam talked me out of suicide twice while we were at YCP.
Oh, wow.
And we got several more phone calls like that, but he couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
He couldn't help himself. He couldn't come out and say it. He come right up to it to try to tell Daddy, but Daddy wasn't listening. I would think it was something else, and I'd jump in and fix. Aaron,
Well, I know you say you weren't listening, but I still keep thinking if you don't know.
That's right. That's what we do while we do that.
Exactly.
So the parents, family, friends out there, this is your opportunity to learn what to do. So you don't make that mistake like I did. And thank y'all very much for having us.
Well, and if there's anything we can do to help, just let us know.
If anybody wants to help us, this is what we would like you to do. Take on this workshop. Please keep us in your prayer.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Can do. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. This has been another episode of SOS Scars of Service. Stay tuned for the next one.